You've heard us talk now for a while about cutting the cord. You've heard that Dish Network is starting some type of special service over the internet. You've heard that so many people are wanting to just tired of paying the $150 cable bill, and people are threatening more and more. I only watch 6 channels. Why do I have to pay for 700 of them? People are starting to cut the cord, and that means how are you going to watch local television channels? Well, believe it or not, there's a St. Louis man who has solved that problem. He's Richard Schneider, president of Antennas Direct. Richard, welcome to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Thanks for having me.
You are locally owned and operated?
That's correct. Started in Wildwood in my garage in 2003.
You invented this thing, right?
Well, I invented
I need
the
you to
initial...
talk right into the microphone.
I invented the initial designs.
Okay.
As we grew, we reinvested, and now we have proper engineers that are working on our products.
And so in 2003, you said there's got to be a way to pick up the HD signals that are coming through the air.
That's correct. So they were initially doing some test broadcasts in the early 2000s, and I bought every antenna you can find on the shelf, and none of them worked satisfactorily. So I designed some antennas that were tuned specifically to the frequencies on which the digital stations are broadcasting, and we had some really good results. I shared some of that on the internet, and it just kind of morphed into a business. People asked me to start making them for them, and they started showing up at my house and at my office, and then people started asking for them at retail.
Now, you started here in St. Louis 2003. You can now get them at every single Best Buy in the country?
We're in all the Best Buys and all the Walmarts and sometimes Costco if they're in agreeable moods.
All right. Now, so when you say an antenna, there's two types. There's a generational gap listening to this. They remember the antennas from when you had to stick them on top of your roof and your chimney, and then the new generation's like, what's an antenna?
Yeah.
So explain that.
Most people under the age of 40 have never even considered the use of an antenna, and the people over the age of 40, the perception is it's something that would have been on their grandparents' house, 15-foot array, from the I Love Lucy days.
Right.
And what's changed? There's been a lot of advancements in the science of antenna design, and antennas are more powerful, they're more reliable, but best of all, they're about a tenth of the size they would have been in your parents' days.
Okay. Now let's talk quality of picture, because the reason why a lot of people went to cable originally was because, boy, my local channels don't come in all that well. If I get cable, my local channels, I won't have to worry about messing with the antenna on the roof.
Yeah, that's really the irony. In the 70s, the whole cable industry got started because over-the-air reception was really so inconsistent.
Right.
So they just started sending over-the-air channels through a cable. And the irony is, in 2015, the best picture quality is actually through over-the-air. And the reason is we're not trying to send 700 channels down a cable. Charter and Comcast and those guys are trying to fit 10 pounds of potatoes in a 3-pound sack, and something's got to give, and that's picture quality. And so if you want the highest resolution on your high-def set, an actual antenna will deliver the most vibrant and detailed picture.
So you're saying you go out, you buy the biggest flat screen you can find from the sound room, they hook it up, the whole deal, and it's a 1080p, and the best picture quality is with your antenna.
And the sound room is a customer, so they do install our antennas on their installations. And the very first customers we had weren't actually cord cutters, but it was the home theater fanatics that were buying $100,000 home theaters from the sound room and wanted to show their projectors in the best possible way.
Right. So let me just make sure we have this right. If you're one of those TV files, right, and you're one of those high-def guys, and you want to watch the Super Bowl, the best picture available is with your antenna.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right. The highest resolution will be, and if you want to do an A/B comparison, hook up an antenna, even if you have one just laying around the house, and do a comparison between Charter and an over-the-air antenna, and you'll see the picture detail just be dramatically different.
Now, 4K is the newest thing. Do these work with 4K? How does that work?
It's interesting you mentioning that. The National Association of Broadcasters is working right now on a new broadcast standard, which will, in a few years, 3 to 5 years, we will be broadcasting in 4K, and those will be available from these antennas.
Really?
Yes.
So you buy it now. I have a 4K TV, but I've learned that I'm really not enjoying the experience of 4K because my service provider isn't providing me with 4K.
You're a little ahead of the curve.
Right.
So they just announced a new Blu-ray standard for 4K, and the broadcast will start. They're already doing test broadcasts in Washington right now.
Right.
But by the time it gets to St. Louis, it'll be about 3 years.
So I upgraded my Netflix account to get 4K. Okay, so again, part of this cutting the cord, literally cutting the cord from cable. You can get 4K with Netflix, and you can get 4K with all the other stuff. But you're saying when it all comes in the next 3 to 5 years, this same antenna that I can buy today at Best Buy will handle that 4K transmission.
Yeah, and 1080p on an over-the-air antenna will also rival a lot of what the Netflix 4K, because the bit rate will still be higher. And I don't want to get into the antenna math,
Right.
but it's actually the resolution will be equivalent from over there today. So you're not going to really be sacrificing anything on your 4K TV by hooking an antenna up to it today.
Right, got it. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now let's talk about what's going on with these local channels, because more and more young people I talk to this hour is on 11.2, KPLR 11.2. It's a digital channel. To the people I talk to, the young kids are like, oh yeah, 11.2. They don't look at it as a secondary channel to channel 11. They just look at it as another channel on their television.
Yeah, and you can get now about 40 channels in St. Louis. A lot of people don't realize, about 80% of the population don't realize that there is free digital television in high def without any monthly charge. And so the people who are buying the antennas are the 20-something millennials.
Right.
It's not the elderly or the indigent that, the kind of the perception. It's actually the 20-something tech-oriented kids. They're buying an antenna, they're not getting a cable subscription, and they're buying a Hulu or a Netflix subscription to supplement, which over the air is really the new basic cable.
Right. So you're telling me that once you hook up your antenna, there are 40 digital channels that it can pick up in the St. Louis metropolitan area?
Yeah, we just added another 3 this month. So Ion Media just bought WRBU a couple of months ago. They added 6 channels. So we'll eventually have 50, 60 channels in St. Louis. And the neat thing is, you talk about 11.2, but the new digital standard allows to have up to 99 subchannels. So you could have 11.2 through 99 if there was enough content. And what people don't realize is a digital transmission standard so much more efficient. So how much more information can we send versus analog? And on a vinyl album, you can only fit maybe 15 or 16 minutes of music.
Right.
On an MP3 player, you can fit 1,000 songs. And it's the same thing. We have the same amount of real estate in the spectrum on the channel spaces that we had in the analog days, but they're using a digital format. And what it allows is we could theoretically have, 400 or 500 channels over the air for free through an antenna.
All right. Richard Schneider is our guest. The company is called Antennas Direct, antennasdirect.com for more information. But your product is being sold right now at Best Buy,
Soundroom, and antennasdirect.com.
Antennasdirect.com, and if you're lucky, Costco or 2.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hold on through the break? I have more questions for you. I want to talk about hooking it up and how does it work and all of that type of stuff. So hold on. Richard Schneider, our guest. Let me tell you